Hey, Garage Gym athletes, before we get to the show, I wanted to check to see if you knew that we are on YouTube. We've been on the platform for a while, but only more recently started to get serious about some video content. So while the podcast will meet most of your needs, some things simply need a visual explanation. So if you want more on concurrent training, programming, garage gyms, head over to YouTube, search Garage Gym Athlete, and subscribe to the channel. I look forward to connecting with you on another platform. All right, let's get to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Me, Trampus, Ashley, all here today to be talking about how we fuel, what we do with this most recent podcast. I never know when things are published anymore, but with a recent podcast published on carbohydrate fueling, we're going to kind of talk about what we do personally, so we can kind of give you some ideas. I did talk about it a little bit in the podcast that we did, but I'll elaborate more. But first, very important update. Ashley asked me how my Rubik's Cube progress was, and if William, my son, if I'm faster than he is. So I can, in fact, solve a Rubik's Cube. I learned how to do that, but William is next level. I can't even touch him. So he can do it in like less than a minute now.
Whoa.
Yeah, I have a video of him doing it in like 38 seconds, which is crazy. I had to buy him a speed cube because apparently this kind of cube is too slow to spin. I didn't know. I was
So like when he's twisting, it takes too long.
Yeah, this is like a standard Rubik's Cube. He got a speed cube, which I thought I had one laying around here. So anyway, he got a speed cube, and he can do it much faster than I can, and it's amazing. But
does he do it? Was the intent for him to do it faster than you, or is it just like you think?
No, I could just tell.
Yeah,
I could tell when I was teaching him that he was basically smarter than me at it, but he still needed me to teach him the steps.
Yeah,
it's like,
sure.
If like you've ever had to learn something from an idiot, which I'm sure we all have, you're just like, okay, whatever. I will sit here while you speak slowly, but after I learn this from you, we'll never talk again. Like that was kind of the approach he was taking. I'm kidding. He's a nice kid, but he would just figure things out. Like I would teach him something and he would already kind of know the next step because of logic. He'd be like, no, I can see like this is what you do. And I'm like, well, I don't know that. I just had memorized the steps. So here are the steps that you do to do. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. And so he's more like he can figure out puzzles better than I can. And so that was it. So I can solve it. The fastest I've solved it is like 3.5 minutes, but that's nowhere close to 38 seconds. And like, that's like saying if Bolt ran 100-meter in 9 seconds and you're like, well, I did in 15. That's pretty close. Like it's nowhere close. He's like way far ahead, way far ahead of you. It's not actually close at all. And so, yeah, that's the update on the Rubik's Cube. William's really good. I'm mediocre.
Something to work on.
Yeah, well, I don't know. When someone gets so much better at you than something that you just kind of like give up.
That's true. Like,
you're just
whatever.
Like, whatever. Yeah. That's where I'm at. All right. Well, let's talk about what we do with our pre-fueling. Maybe we can get into some post-fueling. Anything that we take into consideration, eating before training. Trampus, what do you do?
I don't do anything specific for like just a 1 hour workout that we do. I will say that for the longest time I worked out early AM or early mornings just to get it over with, and it fit in better with my day. But I've sort of switched my schedule up at work so that I could be home earlier in the evening, and I've switched it there mainly because I didn't like getting up and lifting heavy first thing in the morning, but also just so that I would have a little bit of food in my system. And I've noticed that it's changed. But I mean, really, other than that, I don't do anything specific. I don't take like a supplement. I do just try to make sure that I've eaten a couple hours before and that everything's filled. I don't like to eat right before. I don't like to eat within an hour or so or 45 minutes or so, but nothing specific. I do have a lot of experience with longer events though, and I would say that and I think you talked about it during the last podcast, where like you were on your bike and you knew at an hour. I'm pretty similar when we were doing Spartan races. About an hour, I was needing food. So if I know that it's going to be 3 or 4 hour event every 45 minutes, I would fuel up. But also before that, just before the whole thing, a couple bananas and, just have sugar ready, because I am a sugar burner for sure. So that's really about it.
Here's a question for you, because this happens to me all the time. Ashley, feel free to jump in. It can be just an open-ended question here. Say you work out, afternoon, evening, whatever. You haven't eaten that much that day. Okay.
That's only you.
All right. Well, hold on. Maybe I'm just looking for advice. And then it's getting close to the workout and you're starving. You're like an hour out from your workout and you're like, I'm really hungry. What do you do? Like, you could go eat something, but then I'm like you, I don't like to eat right before I work out, especially not anything like with meat or something in it that your body digests more slowly, And so the options are don't eat and just push out that hunger and look, we're going to be fine, right? We're going to be fine. And then you work out and then you eat
sounds
afterwards.
Terrible.
Or eat something small and just deal with it, or have a really large meal and kind of screw up your workout. Those are the three options. Which one you pick?
I'd probably grab some fruit, like an apple or banana or something. That's probably what I'd do.
Got it.
With some peanut butter in there.
Is that your choice as well?
Yeah, I do like an apple with peanut butter, or like I don't know about banana, because again, it's so fast. So I'm like, I feel like you would burn through that even before you got through your workout because you're still starving. But I would choose option B. I would just be careful with what you're. I don't have anything specific to recommend for that.
The one I choose more often than not is I just work out hungry.
Oh my gosh, Jerred.
I've heard good things about Uncrustables.
Yeah,
just gracious.
One
that crust really slows down the digestion.
Just one guy.
Is that from Caswell, probably?
Oh, well, name names. My goodness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, Mr. Morgan's the one who was saying, like, you squish up
McDonald's
cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers. Yeah.
Put them in your pocket or something.
I've witnessed this.
Okay.
I have definitely had an Uncrustable during a Spartan race, though, with a large contingent of GGA athletes.
Did it help?
I don't know if it hurt. I mean, it was,
yeah.
At that point, any food was good. What do you do, Ashley?
I'm kind of like you. Like, I don't. Before pregnancy shenanigans, I worked out in the morning, and so I worked out fasted. I use that word with quotation marks just because it was 12 hours. So to me, that's like a reset. That's like a digestive period. So I would have water or coffee in the morning. And I am not a purist. So I would definitely have like some sort of creamer in there. So I don't know if that's necessarily fasted there. No real sugar, but for me, I never had any issues with lack of energy working out like that. And I actually prefer working out in the mornings. I just like getting started. I like the way that I feel. I kind of like that endorphin high, I guess, riding it out for the rest of the time. If I was ever hungry, then yeah, I would have like a banana or something like that. But it was very rare. If I would wake up hungry, even pregnant, I don't wake up hungry. So that's more my husband. His feet hit the ground and he's like, where's the food? Yeah, and it just depends on like what I'm doing. So kind of like what we talked about with the podcast previous, like if I wanted a little extra boost for like if I was squatting heavy that day or going for a water at max or something, then maybe sometimes I would add something into it. But again, not too much. The Spartan was the only thing I think I've ever eaten through. Like even like now thinking about this, like I did so many CrossFit competitions and I would not eat all day long. I would just be drinking electrolytes and that's it. the amount of stupidity that I did for those things. So I don't recommend doing that. Like if you are doing a longer, like all day event or something like that. And I think, you guys were the reason that I kind of like even clued in that I was going to need something for the Spartan because I had never done it. But yeah, I am more in the lines of I focus on my nutrition afterwards, which we can talk about that if we have time. But Jerred, what do you do prior to?
Yeah, as much as I joke around about whatever, being hungry or like not eating that much, it's really those are rare occasions. I'm actually fairly regimented with my diet, and so I kind of know how much I need to eat in a day, and so I'm always keeping that in mind. And then I just think about where I'm going to break up those things. And so a lot of it for me is carbohydrates and protein. I like to have like a certain amount, let's just say probably an hour before my workout. I try to have consumed everything that I'm going to split into that day, which is typically probably like 100 grams of protein and more than that in carbohydrates. So probably like 150, 175 grams of carbs. That is typically what I'm going to have in the front end of my day. And then the back end of the day, you could probably just double those things. So closer to like 300 grams of carbohydrates. And then maybe another 100 grams of protein if I was having a big dinner, but if not, it typically ends up being less than that. So I'll have somewhere between like 150 to 180 grams of protein for the day. And then I'll get a lot of that, or try to get 30 to 40 grams post workout. And what I found, and what you just have to pay attention to is how your performance actually is and your energy throughout the day. And those are the things that I pay attention to most, because I don't like poor performance in a workout, even though I do joke around of like, hey, we're not training for the Olympics, like don't worry about it. But at the same time, I don't want to like hop on the rower and know what I'm capable of if it's like an interval day and like not be able to do it or feel sluggish or feel tired. And those things will happen if I fueled improperly at the front end of my day. But going back to that, the study that we did earlier on carbs, like none of that like pre-workout stuff to me, I feel like matters that much, but it is an accumulation of what you've done prior to the workout. And so as long as I've had enough food before then, I normally feel good. And so I will eat, I eat oatmeal a lot, not frequently a lot, like once a day. I eat oatmeal, which I think is such a good source of pre-workout stuff. I've actually been giving it to my kids because they do play so many sports. And I just feel like Graham has really struggled with getting cramps. And from a coaching standpoint, the only two reasons I'm going to tell you that you get cramps, or three, is one, either your diet sucks, two, you're out of shape, or three, you don't have enough electrolytes. I know his diet doesn't suck. We will give him electrolytes. And so I just land on he's out of shape. So I make him run more. No, I'm kidding. Really, it comes down to
magnesium comes into play there too.
It really comes down to what we found with him is electrolytes, making sure we get those. Really, it needs to be like 1 to 2 hours before he goes to do something. If we plan for him to have electrolytes ahead of time, he's normally good. And that might sound crazy for a kid or whatever, but I don't know if you've noticed, like my kids don't drink water. Like I have to kind of force them to do that. Like they only drink water. Like we don't have a lot of other things to drink. But if I serve them a meal and I don't provide a water, they won't go get one for themselves. Like, oh, I guess no drink for dinner. Like whatever. Like they don't like want to drink something. And it's all three of my kids. And so I have to like force them to drink liquid. I'm like, I don't go hydrate yourselves. And so I think that's Graham's biggest issue. And so that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. And going back to what I do, that's another big thing for me is if I mess up on hydration, that's going to be the biggest factor. It's not typically going to be like, unless I didn't eat at all, it's not typically going to be a carbohydrate problem or like whatever, it's going to be a hydration problem. Like I'll whatever, I got busy, and then I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to work out in 30 minutes. I've had like 1 glass of water today. Also, very rare, not common for me. I normally drink a lot of water, but when it does happen, I'm like, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be a fun workout because I'm going to do the workout either way. It's not like I'm going to be like, I didn't drink enough water today. I guess it won't work out. I'll just backload my water just like I would with food if I happen to mess up that day. So those are some of the things that I keep in mind is like try to get enough food well before the workout happens. But the biggest one is going to be hydration. Make sure that you're hydrated, electrolytes, all those things. And yeah, that's about it.
I have a question for you then, because if you remember to eat, then what time do you typically eat lunch? Because you are working out at 2. Are you still working out at 2 p.m.?
Yeah, round about there. Yeah.
Okay. So are you eating lunch, I guess, and then having a little something after? Or does your lunch sufficiently fuel you enough that you don't have to have something after that?
Yeah, so I will have I guess lunch at like 11.
Okay.
And then I don't eat anything until I work out. And so sometimes that will be breakfast and lunch within like 2 hours, like a 9 and 11. Like that's, and then nothing until 3. But that's typically what I'm doing. So it's several hours before I work out.
Okay. Because you mentioned oatmeal, so I didn't know if oatmeal was like a supplement.
Sometimes I'll have like oatmeal like right when I wake up, but I've been going back and forth a lot lately of doing fasting for no benefit. I'm not like purposefully trying to do it. I'm just like, don't want to eat breakfast today. So now I'm doing intermittent fasting. And then if it comes down to it, then I'll only have the lunch meal at 11. If I wake up and I'm like kind of hungry or I get hungry at like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., then I'll have oatmeal then, and then lunch again around 11:30, something like that. So that's typical for me. All good. Anything else?
I think
cool.
So.
Hopefully there's something people can take out of that. Hydrate is the main thing I wanted to say. And eat. Make sure you're eating. Don't forget to eat.
Don't forget to eat. Post-workout eating is great.
we'll roll out of here. So, for everybody listening, all of our athletes, thank you so much for being a part of the program. We really enjoy you guys doing the workouts and staying consistent. This is very hard for me to do, this music playing. Anyone who is interested in being a Garage Gym athlete, you can go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a 14-day free trial. But that's it. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.